أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. All praise and glory is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and may His peace and blessings be on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Today, we're going to go over a very important concept that is in relation to the previous video that we went through. So in the previous video, we established the fact that this entire universe has a creator, and that creator is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Him being the one true God, He is the only one worthy of worship. And in this video, we're going to go over what exactly worship is. And by its definition, worship can only be done for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is the only one who is deserving of worship. And what is worship? Worship is any action done with love, fear, and submission for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the sake of obeying Him or pleasing Him. Now, a lot of times when we think of worship as Muslims, the only thing that we think of is the 5 daily prayers, the salah, or maybe keeping a fast, or maybe just reading the Quran. But the fact of the matter is that these are not the only things that we consider to be worship. In fact, any lawful or halal thing that is done, halal meaning permissible in Islam or commanded in Islam, anything that is commanded or just approved of that we do for the sake of Allah is considered worship. For example, in the morning when I wake up, the first thing I may do is say Bismillah, in the name of Allah. I recite Allah's name and I say Bismillah and I get up. Simply me reciting that and getting out of bed is worship. Then I walk to the bathroom and I make wudu. And me making wudu and washing myself is worship. Then me walking to the prayer mat or to the masjid, every step that I take is worship. Let's look at another example. Think about eating. Now it's the time to eat. I'm sitting down, I prepared my food, I'm eating, I say Bismillah again in the name of Allah. I take every piece of food in my mouth and I eat it and I consume it. And then at the end of it, I say Alhamdulillah, thank you my Lord, thank you for providing this to me. The whole process of me eating is worship. I am worshiping Allah by eating because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided me this food. He's the one who gave me this food, and He's the one who told me to eat and sustain myself from the sustenance that He has provided. So just the process of me eating, just something that is eating is considered worship. Now I'm going to give another example, and this might be very, very surprising to many. But even for a husband and a wife to have intimate relations together, even that is a form of worship, because in Islam, marriage is something that is encouraged, and a bond between a husband and a wife is something that is very sacred in Islam. So even the actions performed in private out of love between a husband and a wife, Allah even rewards that. Look at the beauty of our religion. Look at the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Simply by living every moment in our lives for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I take a step, I think of Allah. Allah, you gave me this body to take a step for. You gave me everything that I have. Thank you. I take a step for the sake of Allah. I eat food for the sake of Allah. Even when I clothe myself, if I just remember Allah while clothing myself, that is a form of worship, because I know He's the one who provided me the wealth. He's the one who provided me with shelter, and He's the one who provided me with the ability to clothe myself. And in this way, we are worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The only thing is that it has to be something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed or He has commanded. And whenever we're doing that action, we have to know in the back of our minds that we're doing this is from Allah and we're doing it for His sake. And in terms of what is maybe the opposite of worship, is we know it as a sin. And a sin is anything that we do that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prohibited us from doing. Basically, any time we disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is a sin. For example, us not praying, that might be a sin. Or us eating a piece of meat that we're not supposed to eat, that may be a sin. Or basically even disbelieving in something that the Quran said, that's a huge sin. A huge sin, in fact, that's on the level of disbelief. So this is what worship is: obeying Allah, doing everything for the sake of Allah, and even doing like common things like eating, and even to the point of sleeping. If you go to sleep with the intention that you're going to wake up for the night prayer, which is tahajjud, if you go to sleep with that intention, Allah rewards you for your sleep. Even your sleep counts as worship. And the opposite, of course, this is our purpose in life, is to worship as much as possible and to avoid sinning as much as possible. And even when we do sin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Rahman and He's Rahim. He loves to forgive. So we come back to Him, we ask Him for forgiveness, we ask Him to help us, and then we try our best to leave the sins that we've been doing. And in doing so, if we follow this model of worshiping Allah as much as we can, doing the obligations of Islam, living for Him, breathing for Him, dying for Him, and avoiding everything that He has prohibited, inshallah, we will be successful in this life and the hereafter. All praise and glory is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May His peace and blessing be the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I pray to Allah to forgive us and guide us, and may He put us upon the straight path. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.